In this video, we're going to learn how to change fractions into percents and percents into fractions. One of the key things that you need to know before we can move forward is that a percent is a number or a ratio out of 100. So, our first example is we're going to change fractions into percents. Remember I just mentioned that percents are out of 100? So that means that we need to take our fraction here and turn it into something up here, over 100. That means we need to figure out 20 times what gets us 100. Well, 20 times 5 is 100. So that means if I multiply my denominator by 5, I'm also going to multiply my numerator by 5. And 3 times 5 is 15. So now I have this out of 100. And remember I mentioned that a percent is something out of 100? Well, here's our something out of the 100. So that means that the numerator becomes our percent. So we just have 15%. So that means 3/20 is equal to 15%. Here's another example for us. This time we have a mixed number. So that means, remember, we want to get it to be something over 100. And in this case, we have 2 as our whole number, so I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to ask myself, 25 times what is 100? Well, 25 times 4 is 100. So if I'm going to multiply the denominator by 4, I'm also going to multiply the numerator by 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. So that means my percent is going to be 12, but don't forget about this 2. That means, remember, this is greater than 1, so this is greater than 100%. So this 2 actually goes in the hundredths place, excuse me. So it's going to be 212%. So this whole number here becomes this number here. So it's 212%. Now we're going to work on changing percents into fractions. Now remember that percents are out of 100, so I could just put, remember the percent becomes the numerator, 40 over 100, and now we can simplify this to be 4 over 10, and I could simplify that more to be 2/5. So the percent becomes the numerator part, so the 6 is going to become the numerator over 100, and then you can simplify this to be 3/50. And here's our last example. So the percent becomes the numerator over 100, but you can't really have a decimal as a numerator. So you need to ask yourself, well, how could I get rid of that decimal? Well, if I multiplied this by 10, our decimal point would move over once, and I would get 1. So if I multiply the numerator by 10 to move the decimal point over once, I also have to multiply the 100 by 10, and that means I would end up putting an extra 0 here because 100 times 10 is 1,000. So that means 0.1% is equal to 1 over 1,000. So that's how you change percents into fractions and fractions into percents. Just so you know, not all of our fractions we can simply take the denominator and multiply it by something to get 100. Sometimes you're going to have to take your fractions and change them into decimals and then change the decimal into a percent, but we'll learn how to do that in a later video. But for now, if you can look at the denominator and it's something that you can multiply to get to 100, this is a pretty simple method for doing that.